For Charlie Crawford III, who's quite a genius young fellow. We're going to talk about ball lightning and bead lightning, okay? I was working on the lathe today and a few other projects. Tossed out some old chairs. I had to take them all apart and throw them in a dumpster. That's interesting stuff, I suppose. When did I get into ball? Well, I was fascinated by Ben Franklin's experiments, and then in the early 80s, I noticed with electrostatic discharges, certain shapes and things would cause puffs like that on the terminals where you think would spark across, the static accumulating on that. It didn't. It just, like that. I thought it was fascinating. I was fascinated electrostatics and direct current DC voltage. So years later, about 86, 85, I went to Art Metal Spinning Supply and got a large electrostatic generator made for me. The whole thing, everything cost a couple $100 only, but it's huge ball. You can see the ball. George Hathaway visiting my lab got a picture of himself, 86, standing by the electrostatic generator I built. Okay, so what is all that? Ball lightning and bead lightning. So I studied more on it, did some fun tests, and I inherited plasma capacitors, at least 15 to 20 of them. They were rated for 20,000 volts, 25,000 volts, direct current, low inductance, 500 joules each, and one was 5,000 joules. So that inspired me to work with those with number 8 gauge wire, put them in series and parallel. I had these Siemens X-ray transformers that were good for 400,000 volts, AC or DC. Okay, so progressing along, I got more ideas, you do stuff and do many different things. I noticed on occasion when the electrostatics was fully up and running with all that charge, and the big one is like a couple of million electrostatic volts. So I got more into studying corona suppression and discharge and that, and also ball lightning. And person I communicated with some years ago actually was Robert Golka. But anyway, since electrostatic can be controlled by magnets, I had these electromagnets about so long, coils of wire with a hole through it, put an iron bar and a variac, either have AC or DC, magnetic field, 1, 2, 3, big circle of 3 of them, around close to maybe 10 feet away from the discharge system. The electrostatic would build up, it takes time to build that up, and the direct current, 400,000 volts. Then I got from Satellite Electronics in Vancouver these discharge points of tungsten, pointed tungsten, used in aircraft actually, fighter jets. And experimenting, then I thought, well, I understand electrostatics at high voltage, let me try and make a way of blasting away filaments of metal, thin metal, maybe a millimeter to 5 millimeters. And on occasion I noticed a little bright, very bright bead flying around and it would vanish somewhere. Then the ball lightning was a little, like, I think about that big. In those days I didn't have a film, or how do you film that kind of stuff. Anyway, it was, I wrote out the diagrams years ago, and it was written up by Charles Yost. The diagram you showed me, not all inclusive, didn't show the magnetic field structures I had. A rotary magnetic field system as well. High electrostatics, Then I had a 500,000 volt and electrostatic generator as well. And I got interested in making corona rings, which I did do, and focusing systems that take the ball and shoot it out the end of it like a cannon. Not kidding. Look at the diagram, you see what I mean? So on occasion I get a good bead, I'd grab it, all these corona rings around a plastic tube, heavy plastic tube, and shoot it out the other end and went off somewhere and vanished, or just ceased to exist. And the balls were on a little rare, but would have happened sometimes away from the discharge arc gap. Like off a terminal, it would suddenly go off, or be right in sometimes the discharge gap. Which it was very rare. And noticing this when I gave long demonstrations, like for Jack Houck and McDonnell Douglas Aerospace, there's a bit of stuff flying off like that, or the Canadian government people. They recorded everything, but they would say, "What's that? What's that?" They always say, "What's that?" But it's not in their trip report, I don't think, anyway. They mentioned loud crashing sounds and weird lights. I think they mentioned that in there. I got the reports here, but you preferably need industrial space, which I had at the time. 3744 East Hastings. There's industrial space. I think of other things. There's just so much going on. But the energy release was a lot. It was huge. I use copper wire, filaments, aluminum wire, steel wire. Sometimes that would really go funny in the beads. But I'm going to try and attempt it again here. I got enough capacitors. They're rated for 50,000 volts and very low inductance type. I discharge them at different fields around them, like the electrostatic field, the magnetic field, environment with moisture in the air a little bit, or dry air, okay? My static source is not that big as it was in the old labs in Canada. So let's see what happens. If it's significant, then I'll get one builder. A very powerful electrostatic generator. Like I did in Vancouver for only $200. It was a metal spinning supply, and they made the ball, and I got the tubing and all that stuff. They're very friendly people. I used corona rings at the bottom of it, by the way, in a plastic tube, which is 8 inches, I think 8 or 10 inches in diameter. I'll send you the picture of it. So there was occasional ball and bead. Quite interesting. It's taken me a while to get re-interested in this stuff, but so I didn't want to have anything to do with it all again for a long time. But, oh well. As I get more into the vintage radio stuff again and Navy stuff, I'm very fascinated. I love the engineering of it. And I'm going to attempt the gravity shielding effect. This is basically an interruption probably in the neutron era, subatomic area of neutrons, okay. Probably disturbance, and the speed of light is important in some of this stuff. So how do you get the speed of light? Well, you can do electrical energy runs through wires at speed of light, right? Dr. Mallet was using lasers. He's retired, but anyway. So I'll be doing this again. I got all these different interests, so I'm not a scientist, okay? I'm just a crazy person. My interest is firearms, from pistols to cannon, okay? I've always been that way. My other interest is vintage naval engineering, like World War II on up to about 80s. And I had worked on those warships for 5 years. Thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I was in my glory. I had a lot of fun. I loved it. I didn't want any money. I had lots of money from investors in Germany and Japan to make those power cell things, which was okay. It didn't take me long to, once I had all the materials together, it didn't take me long to build them for the folks. There's the low power type that just uses ordinary chemicals and things, and then there's the high power type which uses ceramics and oxides and yttrium and osmium and lawrencium and niobium and all those things. I had to get some of the wafers made, and they made them. It worked. Some of them didn't work. Some of them overworked and blew up. Lucky I am. Ooh. Anyway, I haven't made a power cell for a long time. I know Nancy likes making power cells, okay? But I have really no interest in that stuff. I don't have interest in free energy, to be honest. So, going back to the Canadian government, people, Dr. Lauren A. Kuhn, Dr. Loken, Dr. Harold Wilson. Wilson said that I was tapping into an atomic area in physics because I had a nuclear source in my experiments. Just ordinary uranium-rich ore and that kind of thing, which added a lot to everything. It would broadcast out of a small hole in a round stainless steel ball, so I could focus it and had a coil around it. As you see in the drawings that you found, if you look at all the drawings, you'll see that in there. So Harold Wilson felt that the radioactive material was lending support to the effect, so it was interesting in his comments. I don't know if that's all. The tapes, I can't get tapes from U.S. government or the Canadian government. Matter of national security, according to what they write. I don't see anything security about it, but the Los Alamos folks just say they're routinely destroyed, blah, 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 and all that stuff, but Colonel Alexander says other things, his experience with it. And that report with Dr. Hal Puthoff and Paul Devereaux, Booker Bay, Australia, 9501 ICRL stands for Institute. I think it's International Consciousness Research Labs, like that. The copy came to me and I gave to Alexander Sharashevsky, one of my partners in the old Hutchison Effect lab. It was quite interesting. I showed a lot, and it was also covered by the media about why if Harold Puthoff is keeping it quiet, I don't know why. Secret squirrel stuff, I guess, protocol, don't, blah, blah, blah. Same with DESY, DESY. I got all the documents lent to me for 2 weeks by Dr. Gottfried Hilscher in Germany, Munich. I read them through them. And there was a student writing up my stuff, but it's kind of messy and disjointed, but I still got a copy of it, I think. He wrote up all the different subatomic reactions and different field structures that he tested and analyzed and all that on just ordinary paper. It's kind of flaky, but it shows the samples. So anyway, I hope this helps. I'd love to see us succeed in all these things like I did a long time ago. And my goal was not to do that, actually. My goal was interesting, again, vintage Tesla, vintage electrical machinery at the time, and those effects happened by pure accident. I didn't know what was going on, really, to be honest. I had metal samples I threw in a garbage can. Couldn't use them for anything. I just destroyed metal that I'd be using for something else. So Alex Pizarro would have to fish through the garbage and would find them. Probably he told George Hathaway, I don't know. I know he told somebody. He was laughing, he said, But anyway, first encounter, and interest was actually Mel Ernest Winfield, who wrote a book on it, sort of, nucleonic energy. And Mel Winfield would come down to the lab, and it wasn't really, I don't call it a lab, it's just a collection, but he would take pictures and film stuff, which he published some of it, and then he was telling everybody it was his discovery and all that stuff, and I got in trouble with George Hathaway and Alex Pizarro. That didn't work out well, so one day Mel Winfield come around to see me, and Alex Pizarro told him to go away, to get lost. John just informed me that he is the one that developed this here. Anyway, long story on ball lighting. It can get quite large, so you need a large, super like an old substation converted into I guess a lab demonstrating unit, but again, it's electrostatics. They keep forgetting that part of it. Topic of free energy, I don't think there's a lot of people making stories up, and I get away from those guys. You gotta prove if you got free energy, like I did, or you get in serious trouble by the police or investigators. Like the characters who got involved in making free energy and their claims actually got arrested and thrown in jail. It has nothing to do with government. It's just that they're lying, cheating idiots, and they get in trouble with the law. So don't ever do that, any of that stuff. It isn't worth it. So I had my first free energy for clients was in 1993 with the ReaTrade Business Group. It was Joe, H-O-E, president of it. It's a worldwide organization, kind of like the, I don't know, like the business people that get together and exchange information. It was it. President of Bell Helicopters and all these famous guys. So it's Joe, president. I worked for two others, part of that group, and got something together for them. They gave me $10,000. I built it. It worked. I never waited for investors from China, but they never showed up. So it basically went on to another group, and then Japan got involved very heavily. So I was making a few of those for them, and they demonstrated in Japan and had them take it to Kyoto Institute of Technology, where they X-rayed it, tested it. Look at all the papers on it. It's worked. No batteries, none of that stuff, fake stuff that people do. So keep away from those idiots that claim things, you know. I think you got involved with somebody with a levitator or something. I knew right away it was just some kind of joke. It is a joke, actually. There is the lifter technology, and then there's the ceramic technology that government people like working on all the time to shield gravity, along with electrostatics and all that stuff. But anyway, T. Townsend Brown was one of the first guys that did stuff. Not Tesla, but T. Townsend Brown. He had levitators, and a French scientist done doing the same recently. I forget his name all the time, but he had excellent lifting devices. But again, they're direct connected to a high voltage source. And there's, although there's magnetic lifters. Oh, seen a demo by a military contractor who visited me in the early 80s, mid 80s. It showed me a levitator that you can just carry around like that. It was levitating a little pyramid. My friend Brian Bordell had a limo company, and he'd always talk about, his friend of mine always to these people, got to go down to see John and see a demonstration, and they come in, they liked it, and they gave me $100. The U.S. contractor gave me $100 for an Eagle Lat. It's the best demonstration I've ever seen. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends have passed away over the years. Anyway, so hope that helps. Of some of that, when I said, helps a little bit major, so someday you must come and visit, show you some of the old stuff that nobody talks about. Someday. And most people are now into all these modern things that They don't stand up to those kind of frequencies and energy. They just go up in smoke. Anyway. Okay, Charles. Hi, Corky Gross. Give me a suggestion for a video for you. This person comments a lot on my videos and loves them, so I like that. Well, at least I'm making somebody happy by these stupid videos I make all over the place, so. Oh, well. I'll be in your neighborhood. That was Mr. Rogers. No, I don't think so. Some kids call me, you act like Mr. Noodles, whoever he is. You look like Mr. Noodles. That was some years ago. I had a dating Corinne. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I got something